first 3 fingers. That should be the eagle style.
In all those styles used, your snake style's powerful.
Hey everyone, it's Sid from Cool Movie Gram, your source for everything about cool movies. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Again, it's been a long time since I've been able to actually record a video. I've just been busy with home life and everything. Hey, you know, here we are, got some free time, and I'm going to try and maybe post more regularly. Today we're going to be reviewing Martial Club, which is the 1981 Lau Kar-Leung directed Shaw Brothers movie, which was released by 88 Films on Blu-ray. Stars Gordon Liu, Kara Hui, Robert Mack, Johnny Wang Yu, Ku Feng Xiao-ho, and it was written by Wang. Let's delve into the story. Okay, the story itself centers around a young Wang who's getting up to no good with his best friend, played by Robert Mack, who's with another kung fu school. Both of them, they like to test each other's skills out, and they often get into trouble. One of the instances being that they pretend to be instructors and end up getting embarrassed by another renowned kung fu master, who's they kind of cross paths with a northern kung fu master who's been hired by a rival school that's kind of like looking to kind of rule the kung fu world. And through their interactions, because his friend, played by Robert Mack, is more about he just spends time just fooling around, using his kung fu in ways to like kind of impress girls at the brothel, and is rather more frivolous. But then when his actions lead him into a predicament where he can't get out, and he's left in a position where he's kind of brought dishonor to his kung fu school, as well as causing a confusion between like his sister, played by Kara Hui, and also Wang Fei-hung. This kind of causes a rift between their schools. But in this time, Wang Fei-hung himself starts taking his kung fu training more seriously. You get to kind of see Wang Fei-hung go from this journey from like frivolous fool to frivolous troublemaker to someone who's actually more serious and stoic, that we're more used to seeing him kind of being represented within media. Yeah, well, this film itself, what can I say now? In terms of like the plot, was actually pretty much very kind of atypical of old school kung fu movies, especially from like the Shaw Brothers era. But what made it so intricate, what was so detailed about this one, which I really loved, was that the details that went into kind of the rules of martial arts in schools, and also the etiquette and like the formalities that are involved. Like, for example, first frames of the movie are you get to see kind of like the lion dance being performed by the director Lau Kar-Leung, who is also an expert in the martial arts, and he kind of like knew the whole kind of rules about what kind of cause a fight, what can cause kind of like disrespect and misunderstanding, and takes all these things and kind of creates this story about a young man who kind of like, it's kind of like a coming of age story, much similar to his first film as a director, which was Challenge of the Masters, where Gordon Liu, once again, I think that was probably his second film, I'm not too sure, which is on that one. Challenge of the Masters is actually on the Shaw Scope Volume 1 box set. But this one here, you get to kind of see him kind of, instead of kind of going from being a troublemaker, it's more of a light-hearted tone, to kind of becoming a very serious kind of like man who takes his kind of like his development within the martial arts more serious. And yeah, again, the performances are great. I mean, Robert Mack has this kind of like great kind of on-screen presence. I mean, Gordon Liu was great as a young Wang Fei-hung. I mean, Karo did pretty well. I mean, Johnny Wang Yu, which was kind of atypical from him, where he's not playing an actual quote-unquote bad guy. I mean, he's someone who's actually brought in by the quote-unquote bad school, but he's more, you know, he doesn't know what's actually going on. But then you kind of get to see that his character, he is kind of like, he still kind of holds morals, respect and value. And now the fight choreography, again, this is like Shaw Brothers gold. I mean, Lau Kar-Leung, I mean, with films like, you had Legendary Weapons of China. I mean, for me, his greatest will always still be, my favorite is 8 Diagram Pole Fighter, which I have reviewed before. And, but this one itself, along with Challenge of the Masters, I mean, it's one of the greatest films that he's directed, which had Gordon Liu as the star, along with Heroes of the East. And, yeah, this... you know, the fight scenes are absolutely incredible, especially the opening sequence with the lion dance, and then you get to kind of see him go through these kind of trials and tribulations at the other school, and you know, leading to an actual fight with Wang Lung-Wei, Johnny Wang, and that fight within the kind of through the streets, like we've got like narrow alleys and whatnot, and the way that it was captured, you got these long takes, and you know, the way the camera moves around, you still get to see all of the martial arts movements, and like him, you know, making use of all these Hung Kyun techniques. And even what I really enjoyed about this film, again, was the set design are great. I mean, the set design in this film is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you get to kind of, they make use of the whole era of like the whole Shaw Brothers kind of like the stages and the sets that were put to use. I mean, there's some great martial arts displayed on in the fight at the theater when they get trapped by the bad school. And it's just, again, I mean, you got all these great techniques, and you get lots of great kind of like cinematography, and like this, you know, the sets. It kind of is very kind of like captures the time period of like the 19th century. And I mean, it's kind of different. I mean, although this is like not the first time there was a comical representation of Wang Fei-hung. I mean, we got to see that in 1978's Drunken Master, where Jackie Chan played him in a much more kind of tongue-in-cheek manner, but played it in a more innocent way, where he doesn't really know much, but he kind of has this sense from right from wrong, and he just kind of, you know, uses this kind of like as seeing what happens to his best friend. He kind of sees that as a lesson, and gets to kind of improve on his own skills, honing his techniques. And again, the lion dance sequences, even is at the start, you see all the actual the use of, like, for example, all these extras and like stuntmen and such, like performing these line dances and whatnot. It's just done with pure precision again. Like, it just looks great. I mean, Young Master did really good, but for me, I would say Martial Club probably did a much better kind of like, well, display of like the lion dance and how it's actually done. Moving on to the Blu-ray. Now, the film itself looks amazing. I mean, the fact that it comes with a DTS HD mono Cantonese audio, as well as the English dubbed audio, which was released in the States by I think it was Warner Brothers, who had the a lot of the Shaw Brothers title. They released it as Instructors of Death, and they released it on video. And yeah, you got that same audio, and then it sounds great. You know, this is actually a HD transfer from the original negatives, and maybe it's because of how well the Shaw Brothers films have been preserved over time. Even the films that they've had from the 60s just look great on any Blu-ray release that's actually put out. So I guess, you know, that's always going to be a plus from the on the release itself. That's always going to be that. There's always going to be a great release from 88 Films once again, and Shaw Brothers films always look good. And it sounds great as well. And then you also have commentary with Frank Zheng and actor, martial artist Michael Worth, which was fun to listen to. You kind of see how much Michael Worth loved this film, and of course Frank Zheng, who also has a solo commentary on this release. He, kind of explains a lot about the whole traditions and like the representation, and more or less what they actually mean and what they're trying to kind of like represent over here. Again, I mean, he is like literally a encyclopedia when it comes to, like, of course, being that he is Chinese himself. He has like, but his understanding of like the cinema and, like, for example, the movie and the history behind it is absolutely fascinating. And he is pretty much, he knows, he's like someone who's a great enthusiast of these movies, and the fact that he's always doing a audio commentary on whichever major release may be from 88, Eureka, Arrow, Criterion, or even the upcoming release for Radiance film, which is A Moment of Romance. He's getting an audio commentary from him, and I'm kind of looking forward to that release. Anyways, yeah, we also get when it comes to the special features, you have Instructors of Death, which is the grindhouse presentation of the actual film itself. They kind of like how it looked more or less when it was released in those grindhouse theaters back in like the 80s. You have Kung Fu and Dancing, which is an interview with actor Robert Mack. It kind of goes through his kind of like experience, because he's an actual professional dancer, but the fact is this was his actual first movie, and how it kind of like put it more or less in the limelight at the time. And then Born to Be Bad, which is an interview with actor Johnny Wang, who's pretty much played a bad guy in a lot of his films. Maybe there's been a few films that he hasn't really played a bad guy, and he goes through this whole kind of like how the industry changed, what it was like when he was more or less working on these martial arts films, and like more or less his time on the studio and behind the scenes and whatnot. And he kind of is very candid kind of interview. He just kind of explains like how choreography worked from before and how it works now, and how it developed, and how, like, for example, his time on the especially during the end fight scene in the alleyway with Gordon Liu, and how, like, even though they had like long takes where they would have like maybe about 20-30 odd moves in one take, and even how they had injuries and whatnot, and but they still kind of like got over it and got the film done. And there's an interview with stuntmen Hong Sun Nam and Tony Tam, who actually worked on these movies, and they kind of go through their own experience as working as a stuntman on stunt people on a Shaw Brothers production, especially being Martial Club, and what it was like working with the director Lau Kar-Leung, who's pretty much like was known as Pops affectionately by a lot of the fans of old school kung fu movies, and also he was known as like more or less the Sifu when it comes to martial arts in movies and whatnot. And you also get to see an interview with producer Lawrence Wang, who was actually working under Mona Fong, who actually ran Shaw Brothers Studios, up until its closure. She kind of came in maybe during the 70s up until the 80s, where pretty much they moved from film production strictly onto TV production, and how it was like. But then, of course, everyone has a differing opinion when it comes to Mona Fong. Some people absolutely despised working for her. Some of them loved it. I mean, I even saw that like in T Lung's interview on Kung Fu Stuntman, which is a great documentary. Kind of explains how, like, she was it that, I can't remember where I saw it, but like think it was when he was saying how like he even, or was it Shawbut's documentary, I can't remember, but he explains how like he would get like a bonus and whatnot, and he was actually treated pretty well whilst he was living in the quarters. And of course Lawrence Wong himself kind of gives more kind of like details about how the industry was kind of like was back then, how it was when he made movies. And yeah, so I mean, this is the first time I would say when 88 Films, when I came across a release which wasn't exactly bare bones, where they didn't have much features. I mean, maybe they kind of took that on board, especially when it comes to the Flag of Iron release and whatnot. There wasn't really that much, or even the Diagram Pole Fighter. There wasn't that much more or less bonus content on it, but not just audio commentaries, but they actually had some interviews and whatnot as well, which was pretty cool. And now when it comes to the presentation of the Blu-ray itself, I mean, you got this awesome slipcase. Don't know, you might still be able to get them from HMV. Some of them might still have them. I know the ones in Birmingham do have maybe a couple here and there. You got like the slipcase again with amazing, beautiful artwork from Kung Fu Bob O'Brien. It comes with the it's the same more or less, the artwork on the disc, and yeah, and of course it's double-sided, so you get the original Hong Kong cinema poster artwork when it was released in 81. So you got that, or that, that or that. And yeah, maybe I think this was probably one of the last ones that Kung Fu Bob has actually done so far for 88 Films release. They're kind of using other people now, but yeah, I do love his artwork. I mean, on some of the Jackie Chan releases that he's done, and then of course you got the same double-sided poster, which is I think it's amazing. I mean, especially the the new artwork from Kung Fu Bob O'Brien. I mean, just look at the detail that went into the actual artwork. It's fantastic, especially with the lions, from the lion dance sequence, and you got Gordon Liu and Johnny Wang just kind of from the finale, and you got the Evergreen Beauty, Cara Hoy, Robert Mack and whatnot, and yeah, it's just a great poster. And then of course you got the original poster on the other side, which is the original theatrical poster, which yeah, of course it kind of makes it look more like a lion dance movie, but of course that wasn't the case itself. It was about martial arts itself. But then of course, just looking at that, you think, just imagine if this came out in the cinemas, you just see this poster, you think, okay, this is kind of looking interesting. It's going to be filled with a lot of action, especially if you're into these types of films. You'd be one of the first people to actually to go up. And then again with a brilliant booklet, with notes by Barry Forshaw. Yeah, and of course, like, he's got the Instructors of Death poster artwork there. It was the title for the American release, but then again, of course, Barry Forshaw, he kind of goes into again the history behind like Wang Fei-hung, the movies itself, and Lau Kar-Leung, and Gordon Liu himself, and then again he's got some like stills from the movie, and of course the special thanks for the release itself. And they did absolutely great when it comes to releasing this film. I thought that this was definitely one of my favorite releases from 88 Films. I mean, I watched this film maybe several times. I didn't get to see it much on VHS, but then I kind of like it was when it was on Amazon Prime. I'd actually watched it at least a good few times then, and even managed to kind of source out a copy online prior to streaming, kind of when it became big. But then watched it then. I think it was on YouTube at one point. But it actually kind of like, it has stood as one of my favorite like kung fu comedies. It's like, it's a comedy, but there is a huge emphasis on the martial arts, and not just pretty and amazing choreography or cinematography, but also the kind of the rules and the traditions and the customs that come with kung fu. My rating of the film is, again, another 4.5 out of 5. I mean, definitely one of Lau Kar-Leung's like greatest films within his arsenal of like just masterpiece after masterpiece. And the release itself, in terms of like the Blu-ray, in terms of the packaging, the bonus features, and the commentaries, again, I'll say 5 out of 5. And you know, if you haven't seen this film, I mean, I would recommend it if you're into, for example, old school martial arts movies, be it they be the Shaw Brothers or even Gordon Liu's work, or Lau Kar-Leung's work himself, or even if you're into, like, for example, if you enjoyed films like Drunken Master, which was pretty much, well, you know, prior to this, that was a different type of kind of comedic take on the Wang folklore tale. Well, it was a more comedic take. I would say definitely, I recommend you buy this. Don't know if there's going to be many slipcase versions available, but definitely I would say I would get it. I mean, you'd learn more about the film, especially with the booklet, but then the bonus features, and you get that cool poster as well. I would say definitely, I would say a 5-star Blu-ray from 88 Films. Right, well, that was it. I'll probably catch you on my next video. Maybe reviewing the 88 Films release for God of Gamblers. Again, I've bought quite a fair few of their films as of recent. Okay, this was Sid signing out, and remember, buy this movie.